All right, morning show with Anthony here on 92.9 and 96.9 HM. Super excited for our next guest. He's going to be headlining the Mayday Music Festival, which we've been talking about for a while. Gin Blossoms, Steve Earle and the Dukes, Brian Fallon, Jesse Malin, and a whole day's worth of music right here on Long Island. Very excited to welcome onto the program Robin Wilson of the Gin Blossoms. Robin, good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Wow, I didn't realize Steve Earle was on the bill at this thing. How cool is that? Wow.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that
great?
I'm so glad we just got that reaction from you, because you probably have. You guys are so road crazy busy. You probably have no idea where you're going the next day.
Generally, I don't pay much attention to the calendar. Yeah, and it's just coincidence that I happen to live here on Long Island now, and so this weekend I'm the only guy in the band that doesn't have to go to the airport and fly all the way across the country. I get to just drive to the show in my own car, which is a novelty that only comes around once every couple of years. So, yeah, go figure. I live on Long Island. Wow, how weird. Yeah.
Is it still? Now, I think we had you on the show like 6 years or so ago. I don't remember much of the interview. The two things I remember was I think you said you live in Valley Stream. You still live in Valley Stream?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The other thing you said that really made me laugh hysterically was people confuse the Gin Blossoms with the Wallflowers all the time, and they think that you're Bob Dylan's son.
Yeah, that still happens. Yeah. But what are you going to do? You know.
Hopefully Dylan's lawyers around the time that, it's time to move some of that money around will have the same confusion. That'd be nice.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, so I'm planning, how do you say it? Is it, I believe I'd pronounce it Yaphank, is that correct?
Yeah, Yaphank, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It's legitimately
the
worst name for a town ever. Yeah.
It's not very good.
It's awful.
It's really pretty out there. I'm looking forward to it. Where I live, Nassau County, it's like just about the most densely populated place on planet Earth. And it gets more and more spread out as you go east on the island. So, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. No, it's gorgeous. Yaphank is literally 3 minutes from where I live. And it's very wide open space. It's really nice. But I mean, it's the town name. It sounds like what it sounds like when you slow down a sneeze. Like that's what Yaphank sounds like.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right. Well, should be fun. Does Steve Earle go on before us or after us?
He does. Yeah, no, he's on right before you guys.
Awesome.
You got to get him to stick around.
He's so great. God, he's so great.
Yeah, he's really good. It's crazy that Brian Fallon, Jesse Malin, you guys, Steve Earle. I mean, all for the price of one ticket. It's kind of crazy what they're doing. The Suffolk AME guys, they're doing a really good job with this festival.
Well, they clearly have a nice big budget for the talent.
Yeah,
we'll put it to good use. So.
All right, we're looking forward to that. One thing I want to ask you though, we didn't get to talk about obviously the last time you were on was like 6 years ago. I saw when Chester Bennington went out with Stone Temple Pilots after Scott Weiland died. I thought that was like one of the most wonderful things I'd ever seen. And it never really dawned on me, because we all think you guys are just huge rock stars with billions of dollars in the bank. But Chester said, STP, like these guys are musicians. They want to go play. They want to make a living. He's like, if nobody takes them out on the road, they can't do that. And I was like, wow, it was like such a lovely thing that he said at the time. Fast forward all this time later, Pat DiNzio passes, unfortunately, and the Smithereens are left in the same situation. And you, and Marshall Crenshaw too, but you stepped in and took that role. So I wanted to ask you about that and how it came about and if you felt that same sort of responsibility to the rest of the group.
Well, thanks for bringing it up. Being a part of the Smithereens now is so cool. God, it's so cool. They've always been one of my favorite bands, and they were a huge inspiration for not only myself, but the entire Tempe, Arizona music scene was really lit up by the Smithereens. And so to have an opportunity to sing with them it's just a thrill. If I could go back in time and tell my 19-year-old self, one day in the future, you're going to be in a band, a working band. You're going to write hit songs. You're going to record with Marshall Crenshaw and Don Dixon. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you get to front the Smithereens. It's really awesome. And there's no way I could have predicted that my career was going to peak in 2019. Go figure. I do feel something of a responsibility. As you mentioned, Marshall Crenshaw is also doing shows with the Smithereens, singing for them. But I love it so much. I wish I could do more. And I'm just so proud to be a part of the band. And the music is so great. It's such a consistent body of music. Oh, my God, it's just so solid. Every single tune. We go out, we do like 20 songs, and every single one of them is just awesome, And, in Gin Blossoms, I feel like our songs, we have highs and lows, and, everything we do is pretty solid. But with the Smithereens, it just seems like you start at 11 and you just stay there the whole show. And it's pretty great. And one thing I've also noticed is that when you, just from my perspective, when you remove songwriting from the process, it's a really freeing experience. There's no baggage. These poor guys, they've been together for almost 40 years, and, all of the blood that's, on the road behind them, I got to skip all that. And so for me, it's just doop, doopy doop. I just get to sing rock and roll, and I don't have to worry about any of the baggage. And in Gin Blossoms, it's just, between the songwriting and all of the creative efforts, it makes it so much more difficult. And as much as I love being in the Gin Blossoms, and I'm so proud of our band, and I love my bandmates, there's just something really much easier about being in the Smithereens.
Yeah.
Go figure.
I know Don Dixon produced you guys, and he produced them a bunch. Was that how you got involved, or how did you come to front the band? Well,
actually, it's the guitar player, Jim Babjack. His girlfriend is a good friend of my ex-wife. And when they put together a tribute show for Pat DiNzio, Jim's girlfriend, Cindy, suggested that I participate. And the surviving Smithereens all kind of shrugged and said, well, we don't know this guy. And Cindy said, just trust me on this. It's going to be great. And so I showed up at the tribute show, totally prepared. And at first I was only going to be singing 2 songs. And then somebody backed out of something, and they looked at me and they said, can you do Blood and Roses? And I'm like, you damn right I can do Blood and Roses. And then another hour went by, and they're like, well, can you do Behind the Wall of Sleep? And I'm like, yeah, you damn right I can do Behind the Wall of Sleep. So I ended up fronting 4 songs at the tribute show. I really, we hit it off, me and the guys. And at the end of the night, I went into their dressing room and I said, I would love to do more shows with you guys. And I guess they like me enough to keep me around. So that's how it happened. Jim's girlfriend, Cindy, and then I just kind of took it from there.
Wow, that's really cool. Robin Wilson is with us. So the Gin Blossoms, we're talking about him taking over for Pat DiNzio and fronting the Smithereens, which is a really cool thing to do. I mean, and especially, being a fan of them when you were growing up in Arizona, to be in front, like, it is kind of crazy. Do you have those like gut check moments of like, oh my God, how did I wind up, successful band of 30 years with the Blossoms. Now I'm taking out the Smithereens. Do you have those look in the mirror moments these days?
I do, and I'm seeing it through my son's eyes. I have a 17-year-old son who's an aspiring rock and roller. And, for most of his life, he was just like, oh, Dad's a singer. But now that he's really trying to, like, be in a band and write songs, I've got all this, I'm getting all this respect. And, So yeah, there are several times, many times over the last year, 2 years, where I just kind of look up and go, wow, this has really been an incredible journey, and our band has a legacy, and we really mean something to people. We can go anywhere in this country, just about any city, and sell 500 tickets, and I'll look out in the crowd, and there are people out there singing the lyrics that I wrote in my bedroom, and there's something so cool about having been able to be a part of people's lives like that, and to touch people through rock and roll. And, all I ever wanted to do when I was growing up, well, not all, my life could have gone a few different directions. I was always interested in science and art, but my main passion was always rock and roll. And I was inspired by, people like Tom Petty and bands like Cheap Trick and Queen and the Cars. And I always just wanted to be like my heroes, and to sort of end up in a place where I'm part of the same story is really humbling and very, very gratifying.
Where's your son at in the process? Is he trying to form a band? Is he writing his own songs? Where is he at?
Well, he's in two different bands right now. I mean, they're just doing cover songs, but he's in two different bands, and then he also goes to School of Rock in Rockville Center. And I just built us a home recording studio. It's really cool, really beautiful, and he's a monster guitar player, and he's really, really good. And now he can sing. He plays bass and drums, and he hasn't started writing songs yet, but he keeps asking me about how do you do it? What's the process? And so just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about it, and we went online right away, and I bought him a dictionary, a thesaurus, and a rhyming dictionary. And I'm like, you need these tools on hand, and you need to become a craftsman with words. You need to read more books. And so that's one thing I've been trying to emphasize to him.
Well, I'll tell you what, when he gets into those moments of, arguments with bandmates or record labels trying to mess around and all that kind of stuff, your experience is going to really come in handy for him.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to laugh and say, you get no sympathy from me. Get back in the van, you take your cell phone and go, get back in the van, because, we did it all. This just came up in conversation a couple of days ago. He's like, Dad, how did you guys find your way around before there were iPhones? And I'm like, well, we had maps. We literally, had an atlas that was like 2 inches thick in the van, and we would have to call the hotel ahead of time and get directions. And the first time you ever showed up in Pittsburgh or Indianapolis or whatever, you'd literally have to just pull the van over and look through the map and figure it out. We didn't have robots telling us where to go. We had to figure it out. And so I had to explain to him, it isn't that difficult, but reading a map is a skill that you had to master,
Yeah.
And again, without cell phones, we had to use pay phones to contact our family and our girlfriends and stuff. We used to get those phone cards, and you'd pull into the truck stop and call your grandma on Thanksgiving or whatever. And, it was a more innocent time, I guess.
Yeah. Reading maps and folding maps, or how about those old map books? Remember the big, huge books? Like you turn the page.
Yeah, that's what we had.
Yeah.
Keep it under the seat. And, like I said, the first time we ever pulled into Pittsburgh, there's like 50 bridges in that town, and of course we take the wrong one and we end up on a one-way street, and then you have to go back. We went back and forth across these bridges in Pittsburgh for like an hour, just trying to figure out which was the right bridge. And then we finally got to the club, like 20 minutes before we were supposed to go on. And, that wasn't all that uncommon.
Yeah.
So I don't really have too much sympathy for the kids out there touring today.
How about, did you get to this part of the conversation with him where you couldn't promote your gigs on Twitter and Instagram? You had to actually go out and hand out flyers?
Oh, yeah. We would stand in the parking lot. We'd wait till nightclubs were closing and people were getting in their cars, and we would stand in the parking lot, passing out flyers. We had to go to Kinko's, and I was a pro at flyers. I could slap them together pretty good. And and then I'd ride my skateboard all over Arizona State University, tacking up flyers on the bulletin boards, and it was work,
Yeah.
But we always, it's like I say, something I always wanted to do, be in a band. And when I ended up in Gin Blossoms, I felt like this is special. It's a real band. It's a working band, and I've always been really proud to be a part of it.
Gin Blossoms, Robin Wilson is with us from Gin Blossoms. Tomorrow night, Mayday Music Festival, should be amazing. Details and info up at WEHM.com. This is what I want to ask you, Robin. I've always wanted to ask somebody this, and this kind of just came up at the right time for me. What is it like for you guys when you're hitting those huge successful moments that you guys hit with the Gin Blossoms early on in your career, where, like you said, you were a whiz at flyers, where you're in a band and you're the flyer guy and you're writing the songs and you're performing, but you're the flyer guy, and this one's the club contact guy, and this one make sure the album covers are cool if you're putting out some independent stuff. What is it like when you're first starting to hit success and suddenly you don't get to design the flyers anymore, and you don't, or album artwork there's a whole art department? Or what is that like, of letting go of some of those, things that you had control over, or, because there was nobody else to do it, you guys were just doing it yourselves in the early days. What is it like to go through that transitional time period?
It's pretty frustrating, actually, because when you sign a major label and all of a sudden you've got people telling you what your logo should look like. And I'll never forget when New Musical Experience first, they put together this album cover that just sucked, and we didn't like it. And I remember calling our product label and saying, "Yeah, we really don't like the cover." And she's like, "Well, we do." And I'm like, "Well, it's our band." And she's like, "Yeah." And I'll never forget this moment. She said to me, "Well, you really don't know anything about marketing." And I just was like, "God, F you, geez, Louise." I swear, right? And there's nothing we can do about it.
Oh man, are you there? You just dropped out.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah. So she said you didn't know anything about marketing.
Yeah. I was very, and I had said to her, we worked our whole lives to make this record, and you're telling me that we don't get to like the cover. And she said, "Well, I wish you would just see it our way." And I was like, "God, this sucks,"
Wow. What was it like? Because I know you guys have the new record out. Mixed Reality's been out for I think about almost a year now.
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like working with Don Dixon? Because I know you're a fan of that late '80s era of alt rock.
Oh, sure. Don Dixon and Mitch Easter together, they produced the first 3 REM records, and then Don went on to produce Marshall Crenshaw and the Smithereens. These are all groups that really affected my path as a musician and a songwriter, and Gin Blossoms as a whole. So it was really cool to be in the studio with Don Dixon. And once we had hired him, he suggested that we go to Mitch Easter's studio and record with Mitch. So, you got Don kind of buzzing around the studio. "What do you need? How's that? Can you hear this? How do you feel? Is the song going?" He's really high energy, very talkative. And Mitch Easter just standing there in the corner, just as cool as ice, really quiet. and just so much gravity around him, and just thrilling to record with those guys, and knowing that you're working with veterans at that level, we really wanted to impress them, so we played well, and the result is on tape. It's I think our best, certainly our best record since New Miserable Experience, and just as a veteran group, 30 years in, to sort of reach a creative high point was really gratifying.
Yeah, Mega Pawn King sounds like it could have been on any REM record, Yeah. But you got great tracks that are kind of like all over the place, like mood wise, like Break and Face the Dark are super good, and Fortunate Street's really good, and there's a lot of good stuff. I agree. Although I liked No Chocolate Cake. I thought No Chocolate Cake was really good too. That was a good record.
That's a solid record, sure. But there's something about Mixed Reality. It's definitely a level above some of our other albums. It's a really solid piece of work, and I'm super proud of it. And again, to have recorded with Don Dixon and Mitch Easter, to have written some of our best songs, everybody put in great performances, and also it's got the coolest album cover that we've ever done. So just across the board, it's a very satisfying record.
Yeah, I like the Heartache Compromise hi-fi rock and roll on the front. I like that. This is a nice touch.
Yeah, that speaks to my experience making the record. That's why I put that on there. What does this album contain? Well, it contains a buttload of heartache and compromise, and that's how you make a record as a band. I'm not a solo artist. I don't get to boss everybody around and, decide everything. It's a process of compromise and collaboration.
It's really good. Mixed Reality is out now. Tomorrow night, Mayday Music Festival should be amazing. Robin, thank you again, my friend. This was a lot of fun for me.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. I'm looking forward to the show, and I'll be doing a show here on Long Island where I live. Go figure. So looking forward to it. Thank you very much for helping to promote the show, and I'll be there in time to see Steve Earle.
There you go. I'll be there too, so we got to grab a photo together.
That'd be great. All right. You have a great day. Rock away.
You too, dude. All right, there he goes. Robin Wilson of Jim Blossoms. Sucks that his phone cut in and out there for a little while, but man, was he fun. You get an artist like him at the right, like he's at that right time where it's like he'll be very honest about everything, and hearing the juxtaposition about what it's like fronting the Smithereens and how he gets to unload some of that baggage of some of the work that needs to be done, and then going out with Jim Blossoms. And then also hearing the early days of Jim Blossoms when you had to do everything, and then when you lost it, how much that stunk. And now doing more, it's still work. It's gratifying and awesome, but it's still, work at the end of the day. It's kind of cool to hear all those different positions of what he goes through. But I mean, you're talking about really one of the great frontmans of a group, 30 years going, picks up the torch of Pat DiNzio and keeps moving that on. And the Jim Blossoms are busy as ever. They got a whole summer tour with our pals over in Collective Soul. We just had Will on that long ago. That was a fun interview. That's on the Morning Show with Anthony Vlog. Just keeping busy and still churning out some good stuff. Mixed Reality is pretty good. I do love No Chocolate Cake, though. Dead or Alive on the 405 is a great track. Going to California is a great track, not the Zeppelin tune. And there was another good one on No Chocolate Cake. But yeah, Mixed Reality's got some good stuff on it as well. All around, Jim Blossoms are still rolling. So I'm excited for them at the Mayday Music Festival with Steve Earle and the Dukes, with Brian Fallon from Gaslight Anthem, with Jesse Malin. It's going to be an amazing day of music. Miles to Dayton, Cassandra House, some of our other faves are going to be there performing starting at noon and rolling all the way through the evening. They got a food truck court. Blue Point Brewery is going to be there with their craft beer. There's a bunch of wineries that are coming down to provide wine. There's activities for the kids. Kids 12 and under are free. Tickets, details, and everything you need to know is up at wehm.com. Order your tickets now. Don't wait. Thrilling to talk to Robin Wilson. We thank him for getting us a little bit closer to the music this morning on The Morning Show with Anthony.